You have a good radio voice.
Okay, well, we're live, so hopefully people will start joining in a few seconds. And I guess we'll keep our faces on it until like maybe a few minutes past the start, and then we'll go to the presentation screen.
Yeah. All right, and you can tell if people are joining and no one's joined yet?
Yeah, there's a viewer thing at the bottom. Can you see that too? Or is it that only for me?
I see, well, yeah, maybe. I mean, I see myself and then just your name.
Oh, okay, but you don't see underneath our pictures. You see another bar there?
No.
Okay, no worries. Okay, I'm getting a bunch of emails saying about people starting to watch, so that's good.
Okay, that's good.
I was hoping to see that on the chat somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I don't see it there, so anyway. So in a few seconds, I should probably start seeing people coming on viewing here.
Okay, but you can hear me because I'm looking at it. It says that I'm muted, but I guess I'm
no. Yeah, you're not muted. Okay, I see two viewers. Welcome, viewers. Five viewers. Oh, we're up to 5. Okay, for those of you that have joined, we're just waiting a little bit so that the number of people viewing increases to double digits at least, and then we'll start. Okay, we have double digits, and now we're waiting for a few people with clocks that are off by a few minutes.
Well, and when you talk, I hear a huge echo. Can you talk again?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, that was good. Another time it was like, you spoke and then like 2 seconds after you spoke, you'd hear it again on top of the other one.
Let me close a few laptops here. Okay, could be that some of those weren't muted, hopefully.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. We are up to 17 viewers. Okay, I've got some feedback that some people are not hearing the echo, so maybe it's just between you and I, which will be good. That'll be convenient. Okay. Okay, I see some comments coming through on the QA, so the QA app is working. Okay, I guess we can probably start. There are 18 people watching at the moment, so I assume a few more will come shortly. But welcome to the Hangout. Miraculously, we figured out how to get 2 people on it. Shockingly, don't quite know what we did to make it work, but it works. So I'm Willem, of course, and Laurie, if you speak, you'll pop up and you can say hello to everybody.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Glad that you can hear me.
Okay, so for everybody else, Laurie and I are in real time, but you are about 40 seconds behind. So this will not bother anybody because you won't, for the most part, be speaking. But what you can do is, if you're coming in through the events page and not through the YouTube page, then you should be able to ask questions in the QA app. QA app you can get to by kind of hovering over the left-hand side of the screen, and there is it'll pop up and you can then ask questions. I see a few people already are basically saying here in the QA app that things are good, so everything is fine. So I'm going to therefore now start, and I'm just popping up the presentation here. Okay, so as you all know, we are going to go through the review process. This slide deck, Laurie and I presented to the program board members and a few PC members at ICSE in Florence. But for the most part, this is now for the PC members who haven't exactly seen them or have seen them posted on the events page, but not actually gone through them, of course, from our side. Okay, so first, needless to say, a big welcome and thank you for serving. You will be doing an awful lot of work in this little endeavor. So thank you already for all your hard work. So we have 28 program board members and 89 program committee members, i.e. there are roughly 3 times as many program committee members as program board members, which is nice because it makes the numbers work out nicely. The program board members will be in charge of roughly 22 papers, of which 16 is going to be in a role of overseeing the reviewing process of the program committee members, and 6 other papers, they will do a full review of it in kind of like a second phase of reviewing. Program committee members should get roughly 16 papers to review. So definitely not a big load by normal ICSE standards, but still not negligible either. Okay, so the general philosophy of the process, as you of course know, this is repeating the process, more or less repeating the process of 2014. The program committee does essentially all the reviewing. The program board just keeps the process on tracks and will lead the discussions after the program committee has finished their reviewing. The program board members then communicates the decisions made by the PC members at a face-to-face meeting, which we'll have in Raleigh at the end of the year. More on that a little later. There'll also be 1 extra program board member doing a review after the PC reviewing phase, just so that we have at least 2 people in the room that has actually read the paper. The main purpose of the meeting is just to determine where the bar is for acceptance. So kind of a classic example is if you have this absolutely glorious paper about why 1 equals 1 or something ridiculous like that, then you might get AAA reviews, but we will decide at the meeting that that actually is not above the bar for ICSE. And where that bar is, of course, is somewhat flexible and not always easy to determine. And hopefully we will just sit back and watch this wonderful process unfold, but sadly, odds of that happening is 0. So some work is ahead even for us. Okay, so one of our philosophies this year is going to be to somewhat enhance what the authors get out of this process. And first thing is they'll get free reviews, at least 3 reviews actually. So one of the negative things from the previous time this model was run was that people with only 2 reviews for a paper really kind of complained more vigorously than anybody else. So we believe 3 reviews is good for all papers. Some of the papers, of course, will actually get 4 reviews because a program board member will also review the paper. All papers will also get a chance at a rebuttal, so the authors will be able to rebut whatever is in the reviews as done after the first PC phase. And this will be done right at the beginning of the discussion period. So therefore, there'll be a slight overlap of probably about 3 days, which is how long the people will get to do a rebuttal before the online discussion in some sense can start in earnest, because whatever is in the rebuttal should be useful information for the rest of the reviewing process. All papers will also get a summary at the end to basically say exactly why the outcome was communicated in the way it is. Obviously, the rejection summaries will be in some sense more important. The acceptance summaries, people will just be happy to have their paper in. One additional thing is we will get author feedback. Now, in the past, the author feedback was essentially solicited at the end of the process. So right after everything was done, papers were accepted, rejected, and so on, feedback was solicited. What we will do is we will actually ask for feedback at an earlier stage as well, and that stage is during the rebuttal phase. So during the rebuttal phase, authors will have a chance to basically give each review a rank of essentially 1 through 5. Kind of, was this useful, was it not useful, and a few rankings in between. The reason for this is then we get a more unbiased opinion, because obviously at the end of the process people are more biased, because if they usually be quite happy if their paper got accepted, and they're usually very upset if the paper didn't get accepted. So if we ask earlier, then we get essentially better fidelity feedback, we hope. Now, one thing that is incredibly important is that this feedback that will be provided on each review will obviously not be communicated to reviewers, right? So you as PC members and program board members will never see this data. Laurie and I will see it, and we will use it in aggregate at the end to say, end user or end authors were happy and whatever, the rest were not happy or something like that, but it won't ever be individually communicated. Okay, so next up is the overall process. The deadline is 28th August. Then there'll be a phase where we will look at just obvious rejections, not the right format, too short, too long, whatever. After this phase, there will be bidding. That'll probably run for about 5 days. And this is crucially important, because if you don't bid, then you can get anything. And if you don't bid, then we also don't know what you would like to get, and it will be a harder task to do the assignments. Assignments will start roughly on the 6th of September and also take about 5 days. So around the 11th of September, the reviewing will start. And concurrently with that, the program board overseeing, of course, of this reviewing process. You will get about 6 weeks to review, at which point an online discussion will start, but concurrently with that, the rebuttals. So a few days after the online discussion starts, the rebuttals will come in, like 3 days. After the online discussion, some papers will fall out if they had no support. Papers that go on from this point will get a second reader, which is essentially a program board member now at this point, that'll actually be reviewing, a second reader assignment. So it's a program board member will review at this point. That runs for about 2 weeks, and unfortunately it also overlaps with Thanksgiving in the US, but moving it earlier really doesn't help the process very much, because then it just means Thanksgiving is right at the end of your reviewing period, and let's face it, everybody reviews at the end, so that'll cause more problems probably than anything else. Then there's a little gap to the program board meeting, which we'll show in a second, will actually be filled by something, and the notification should go out around the 15th of December. So the green boxes indicate where the program board members will be active. I will kind of not linger on this, because it's maybe more important what happens for the program committee involvement, which is on the next slide here. Bidding, obviously very important. You have to bid vigorously. PC reviewing, that is your main job essentially. And then where you really have to communicate what the ultimate decisions are is in the online discussion. So really people falling off after PC reviewing and not doing online discussions, Laurie and I and the program board members will hound you until we find you, even if that is on the beach in Florida somewhere. You will have to participate in the online discussions. After the program board member reviews a paper, there could then be some kind of discussion period. So this last little dotted line box here, program committee members should be available roughly in this period just after the 6th of December and before the 9th of December to make sure that if there are any more disagreements now at this point, or especially if the program board review introduces some form of disagreement, this has to be sorted out in a quick online phase here. This is one of the deviations from the previous 2014 process, where essentially this wasn't really, there wasn't enough time for this, and we wanted some time for that. Okay, so that's the big picture. Now there are a few slides on more on the detailed stuff, but essentially this you can probably go through. Especially this slide is not that important. But maybe it's worthwhile going over this, even though it's more the program board actions. It kind of shows what the difference is between the roles of the different committees. So for the program board, you will have to summarize the views, including the rebuttal, to kick off the conversations during the online discussion phase. Clearly, at this point, the obvious rejects need to be thrown out, and then one need to try and find consensus. But if there is no consensus, that is not a train smash. But now, what is consensus? Consensus is based on all three reviewers and the program board member's opinion. Therefore, a program board member is allowed an opinion, but it doesn't carry any more weight than the opinion of a PC member, right? So a program board member is in no way special. It's just another voice in the conversation. At the end of the online discussion, the program board members need to write some kind of summary. And of course, that summary needs to be hopefully a consensus of what people have decided. But even if not, it's okay. And we need two outcomes. Either a paper needs to be rejected at this point, or it needs to go on in the process. So a consensus accept will of course go on, but also a no consensus will move on. And if the paper was rejected, the summary as is at that point will actually be sent to the authors. But if the paper moves on, then obviously more information might be added to the summaries that you write at that point. Okay, the program board members will then do a full review of a few of the papers in the second round. These reviews will be visible to the PC, of course, and it might induce more discussions. And then the program board meeting will be essentially like a classic PC meeting. There's really very little difference. Somebody will summarize the paper, there'll be a discussion, and final summaries will be written. And really, the only interesting papers probably at this point will be the papers on which there wasn't any consensus up to that point. Okay, program committee actions. So bidding, I've already said that's very important. Please, 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 please bid, otherwise everybody suffers, including you. The reviewing, we will use an intermediate deadline, like halfway through, half the papers need to be reviewed. This serves multiple purposes, but frankly, it definitely saves everybody some pain at some point. It is really helpful to not have all your reviews at the end, even though I can attest that is my favorite way of reviewing, is leaving it for the last week. This really is this is not even good for my health, and it will definitely not be good for my health as a chair. So we will have an intermediate deadline. Online discussion, I already said it's mandatory participation. You should check the rebuttals and amend reviews if required. You must also check the program board member summaries to make sure that they are in fact accurate in terms of what the outcome of the discussions were, and be available for these last minute discussions in early December. And then the last slide is just kind of like how we think the paper flow will roughly work. So we'll probably start off in and around 500 papers. That's the best guess estimate, unless you guys are writing many more papers than we think you are, but which will also be good. Historically, about 30 of those fall off in the desk project. So 470 should go into the PC reviewing, which will be roughly 16 per program committee member, and also 16 being overviewed by or overseen by the program board member. After the online discussion, we believe roughly 300 will go to the waste bin. 170 will move on to the program board reviewing, so 6 per program board member. After this phase, after the online discussion, after the program board review, we believe roughly another 30 will go to the bin, but also about 20 will just go for sure accept. So these won't even go to the program board meeting. They will just be accepted out of hand. And again, these numbers are roughly in line, especially the 20, roughly in line with what typically happens in the process at the moment. And then the program board meeting, and who knows what's going to happen there. We can't predict, and obviously we don't have quotas, so anything is possible. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. Now let's see if there are any questions.
Yeah, so the only question, I think you answered it. Henry asked earlier, who prepares the summary of the decision, the program board members? And the answer was, yeah, it is the program board members. But I think that we'll answer that eventually.
Okay, great.
Are there other questions that you might have? Type them in there.
So there will be a little bit of a lag, so we'll give you a few minutes if anybody has more questions. Okay, so while we wait for more questions, I will now post this presentation also on YouTube and with the link on the page again. So for all of the people that missed the presentation, which should be roughly about 80 people, they will then be able to hopefully see it there.
Maybe you are perfectly clear.
Yeah, right. Clear as mine. Okay, well, I see no more questions.
Yep.
Okay, and that took about 20 minutes. Hopefully we can post the whole thing on YouTube and not have to kind of edit it into 2 pieces. Due to a 15-minute limit, it might be on YouTube, but anyway, we'll see.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I'll echo again. Thank you so much for all the help that you'll be giving us the rest of this year. Oh wait, there's one more. I would like the rebuttal thoroughly considered. I've seen in most cases the reports do not reflect the rebuttal. They should. So I would agree with that. And you will also have the ability to chime in on the summary. Part of the process when the program board is working with all of you is to come up with what you all believe is the summary, and that would be written, a first version of it anyway, would be written before the program board meeting. So you have the ability to get that in. Do you see any others?
No, it's just had a comment here that somebody had a question, but I'm just checking to see if that was answered. Oh, yeah, I think that was just answered. Okay. Yeah, okay, so I think if you have more questions, please post them on the community page on the Google+, and we'll answer them on the fly. Of course, you can also send us email, needless to say. It's just if we post them there, then everybody can see the answers, which might be useful as well. Okay, well, bye from me. So.
All right. All right. And thanks again. Have a good
Okay.
day. All right.
Bye.
Bye.